Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the fifth in a series of videos about the G Center, and it's also the final video. The G Center is right here. It's what we think of as the heart center. In the story of human design, the heart center, the energetic heart center, split into two at the end of the 18th century, and we got the G Center, sometimes called the identity center, and then the will center. So we're really focusing on the G Center because the heart is such an incredibly significant part of our experience as human beings. It's the place where we have love and lovability, identity, which is why it's sometimes called the identity center, and also direction in life. So in this series of videos, we've been looking at all of the different channels and gates that go through the G Center. And I want to reiterate here that you do not have to have these colored in or defined in your chart in order for you to have a relationship to them. In fact, you have all of the human design chart, whether it's colored in or it's white, and you've experienced all of the energies many, many, many times. The colored in parts are ones that you have a consistent experience of, and the parts that are white are changeable. But I do want to just underscore that don't look at this and think, I don't have that gate, I don't have that channel. People do that all the time. It's not about that. You can cultivate your relationship with this energy, whether it's open or defined. Okay, let's get started. In this final video in this series, we're going to talk about the sensing circuit and how it moves through the G Center. If you haven't had a chance to watch any of the previous videos, I definitely suggest that you go and you watch the first one. I'm pointing to it right here. And because it lays the groundwork for what all of this is about, and you can watch the others at your leisure. Just a super quick review. You can see here from this image that there are a lot of channels that go through the G Center. It's quite a complex center. In our first few videos, we went over individual circuitry and the different channels that belong in that individual circuitry. So we went through the knowing circuit, the integration circuit, and the centering circuit. Then last time we went through the collective circuit and looked at the logic circuit. So today we're going to look at the sensing circuit. There are two channels that intersect with the G Center that are in the centering circuit. One is coming from the sacral center, which is the power center really of the body. It is the most powerful engine in the chart. And then it comes up through the G Center and then up through there into the throat center. So we're going to look at the 2946, which goes from the sacral to the heart, to the G, and then from the 13 to the 33. The sensing circuit is one of three different channels in the human design chart that help us know how we know things, how we understand things, how we can tell what is true and what's not true. And one is the knowing circuit, which we talked about a lot, and then the logic circuit, which we talked about last time. And you know the logic circuit, right? This is where the scientific method lives, and this is kind of the dominant way of knowing in our culture. The knowing circuit is completely it's highly intuitive. And then the sensing circuit is right-brained energy, and it is also not dominant in our culture, and yet we understand it a little bit better because we get this idea that we do have this right-brained energy. It crosses over, goes down over through the left side of the body and up through the central channel. And the right-brained energy is creative, it is expansive, it's really spatial, it's abstract. It's also embodied and experiential, so we learn a lot through the body and through our experiences in the sensing circuit. Like the knowing circuit, the sensing circuit is not logical. It's not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not linear. Okay, it's very different. It's much more intuitive. What we think of as intuitive is coming through that sensing circuit. So what we're looking at today is going from the sacral center to the G Center, which is the 29 to the 46. The 29 in traditional human design is known as perseverance, and in quantum human design is known as devotion. I just love that reconfiguration of what this energy is about because, yes, we do need perseverance, but depending on how we do it, we can be using a lot of willpower and we can be burning ourselves out. Whereas if we really feel it as a devotion, right? That this is something we are devoting ourselves to, and that we're using really our spiritual energy to be focusing on whatever it is that we're doing, then it has a quality of devotion, and it really kind of uplifts the whole energy. Now, the mate of the 29 is the 46, which is on the G center, and the 46 in traditional human design is known as the love of the body, and in quantum human design is known as embodiment. So this is where we can really see both the characteristic of a more spiritual orientation, a more energetic orientation, and also an embodied orientation, right? After all, the 46 is embodiment. So this channel brings pure life force energy up into the heart center, up into our sense of who we are, our direction of life, our love, and our lovability. And it does that through the quality of embodiment. In my view, embodiment doesn't simply live in the 46. I mean, that is the gate that gets named that way. But embodiment is about how we are inhabiting our physical form. And a lot of us have been trained not to be in the body. We've been trained to be up here in the mental space, sometimes even up here, right? We can do that because we're working too hard with our minds. We're privileging this part of our being, this particular kind of intelligence, and not the physical intelligence. And also we can pop out of the body due to trauma, where if you're in a traumatic situation and you can't leave, which happens to kids a lot, right? Then you can learn how to pop out of your body. So coming down into the physical form and really incarnating all the way, getting your spiritual self, your energy field all the way down into your body is part of what human design invites us to do, because it's constantly showing us the different kinds of energies that are running through our physical form. The theme of embodiment has been getting a lot more attention in the last few years. I know when I first started really doing a lot of embodiment practices, I was a dance major when I was in college, and then later on I taught dance aerobics in the 80s. And then I moved more into conscious dance and into the practice of really going inside and dancing as a spiritual practice and an energy practice. And then I also explored a lot of different forms that help us to feel more in our bodies, like continuum movement and body tails and all kinds of different things that I've done over the years. The reason I'm sharing this with you is that, interestingly enough, I only have one gate, and it's the 33 defined in the sensing circuit. And yet, throughout my life, I have been drawn to somatic practices, to movement forms. I've practiced a lot with embodiment, and this is something that my soul apparently has been drawn to because it's been with me my whole life. So when I say that you don't have to have it defined in your chart, this is a real strong example for me that you can develop a powerful relationship to the openness in your chart as well. So that's why I'm saying embodiment doesn't just live in the 46, because I don't have the 46 defined in my chart. Okay, the whole channel in traditional human design is called the channel of discovery, and in quantum human design is the channel of dedication, which of course really goes with that devotion quality, right? I like to think of this channel as giving us the guidance and the energy that we need to really be dedicated to taking care of our physical form and living life through our physical form. As I said a moment ago, we tend to live up here in this mental space, right? And we're staring at screens, and we're not actually using our bodies all that much. We spend a lot of time inside. And so we can draw on this energy and we can cultivate it to help us to become more embodied, to enjoy being in our body, to love our bodies, to experience life more through our bodies. And that's really what the sensing circuit is inviting us to do in general. And so you can really call on this energy. For example, a lot of people, women especially, do not love their bodies. I mean, as women, we've been trained to, really kind of beat up on ourselves about our bodies. We think we have too much belly fat, or we have too much on our thighs, or, we're not pretty in the right way, or whatever. The media shows us these airbrushed images of supposedly ideal beauty that aren't even real people. I mean, they're constructed on Photoshop to look a certain way. So for a lot of us, we have a lot of energy around our bodies. So if that's true for you, and I don't think I've met a single woman who I haven't heard say something negative about her body at some point. I mean, unless I don't know them very well, right? But still, Even people I know who are really, uplifted and enlightened and all of that still have energy about their bodies. It's interesting. So we can call on this energy and we can devote ourselves to taking care of our bodies, to giving ourselves the right food, the right water, to do cleansing, to exercise, to spend time outside in nature so that we're getting connected to the larger field and all of that. And so if that is something that you're not in the habit of, you can draw on this energy to support you with that. And it's also responsive. So one of the ways that I invite you to think about this is, how can you be responding to the signals that your body is giving you? Because the thing is our bodies gives us signals all the time, right? And if you have any discomfort, if you have any pain, if you have parts of your body that don't seem to work very well, pay attention, ask your body, respond to what the message is that your body is giving you, because your body is extremely wise. And, embodied wisdom is something, it's an intelligence that we have not fully developed or understood in our culture. As a matter of fact, it's pillar number 3 of feminine sovereignty, which is vitality, vitality, connection to the natural world, and embodiment. Because this is a skill, it's a capacity that we will really benefit from when we develop it. And like I said, you really kind of have to be devoted, because you're not going to get that much support for that from the culture. And I'm not talking about going in and beating your body in the gym either, right? Because that's not usually a loving act when people are, going at it because they want to make their body look like something that they saw in a magazine, right? No, you want to do this. Of course, exercise is great, and I do, yoga every day, but you want to do it with that feeling of devotion, of love for the body. You can also expand this out to understand that it's through the body that we are interacting with the physical plane, right? It's through the body that we are in 3-dimensional reality. And it's when you're more in your body, right? Then you can have more mastery of ordinary reality in the physical plane, in the 3-dimensional reality that we're living in. And when you're not in your body, it's much harder. Back when I was a clarity breath worker and doing lots of breath work all the time, one of the affirmations that I gave people was, the more I agree to be here, which means being in the body, the easier my life becomes. And when we're not in the body, or we're really disconnected from it, unfortunately, negative things can happen to the body, because it's kind of like nobody's home. And when nobody is home is when damages can happen to the body and nobody's really paying attention. It's kind of like if your pipes burst in your house and you weren't home to be paying attention to it, and then you had a flood in your house, right? Well, the same kind of thing can happen in your body. It's like something isn't working right and nobody's home and you're not paying attention and you don't really know, right? So you want to be able to be in your body, because it also gives you a lot of command on the physical plane. Your relationship with your body is part of who you are. So what you might want to do is just go and do some writing to connect with your body, to reflect on how you feel about your body, to upgrade possibly some of the ways that you relate to your body. And as you need to find a way to have compassion for yourself if you've had a vexed relationship with your body in the past. And I know for people who have illness or chronic pain, that sort of thing, sometimes this can be tricky, but it is so, so vital, because that identity piece, right? How we relate to our body really influences our identity, who we think we are, and our direction in life, what we think we can do. So you want to upgrade that with this sense of love that you have also in that G center. Now, moving through the G center, on the other side, you've got the 13 and the 33. So this whole channel is all about storytelling. It's interesting because we're not talking about this today, but it comes up through the throat center, and even the gate on the other side, the 56, is also a storytelling gate. So we've got 3 storytelling gates here in the sensing circuit, which really makes sense because the sensing circuit is, like I said, it's creative, it's expansive, it's not logical, it's not linear. And so it's telling its truth. It's helping us to understand our experience and our world through storytelling. This is really emphasized in the quantum human design names. So in traditional human design, the 13 is called the listener and the 33 is called privacy. They both have qualities of storytelling in them, but in the quantum human design names, they're called narrative and retelling, right? So this is where we get the storytelling really elevated, is in the quantum human design names. So in this 13, which again is on the G center, is we're learning to tell stories about who we are, right? It's the identity center and our direction in life. So we're telling stories about who we are and what our direction in life is. And the highest aspect of this is when you can be revising any old stories you have that are dragging you down, any negative stories you have about yourself, any old stories about what's happened to you in your life that are really burdening you, and to be able to retell that, and this is really one of the benefits of discovering your human design and learning what your human design is, because it can help you to really kind of reframe your understanding of who you are. This is one of the things I love to do when I do readings for people, is to suggest that when they understand these pieces about their human design, that they recreate their self-image, their self-concept, to create a new identity for themselves that includes their human design. It's not going to throw everything out, but it's going to include their human design. And often what that does is bring up to the fore parts of themselves that have not been recognized so much by common culture. So like our creativity, like our storytelling, like our intuition, right? Like our embodiment and all of that. The stories that we tell about ourselves are absolutely vital, because that is the lens through which we are living our lives, right? It's the filter, if you will, or the lens through which we are taking in what's happening in the outer world. And it deeply affects our physical body too. Our story about ourselves really affects what's going on in this physical form. So you can see how these two are really related to each other, the 46 and the 13. So my invitation to you is to be creating a new narrative about yourself based in human design, if you know enough about human design yet, and if you don't, go find out. And really up-level your self-concept, up-level your identity, and what you think is possible in your life. Because a lot of times we got taught, I did a reading for a woman just the other day who really was taught a lot of negative things about what was possible for her in her life. And so her direction in life was challenged because it was really kind of squashed, And so being able to recast the story of your life and what is possible for you in terms of your direction is really, really important. So it's no surprise that its mate at the 33 is called retelling. And the retelling is really about being able to digest the history, okay, whether that's personal history or it's history of all of us, or a particular group, a country, a tribe, or whatever it might be, and to retell it in a way that's empowering. Because a lot of times, again, the stories that have been told are not necessarily empowering. I mean, if you're anything other than, kind of a, wealthy, highly educated white man, then the stories that have gotten told historically are often not so great, right, about us. And so this is an opportunity to retell that with the empowerment of yourself or whatever groups you feel affiliated with in such a way that it becomes much more empowering for you. So you can tap into this energy to be able to do that. Many times you can really only understand experiences in your life looking back at them, right? And that's one of the benefits of age that I appreciate, is being able to look back on the 6 decades that I have to be able to make sense of them, because they add up in a way that living forward through my life, a lot of times I couldn't see. So this 33 is the energy that helps us to be able to look back at our lives and look back at our history and to make sense of them. And a lot of times, we've all made mistakes. We've all had challenging experiences. Whatever that might be, is what are the lessons from that? And how can we reframe our understanding of who we are, whether that's an individual who we are or a collective who we are, with the benefit of experience, again, the sensing circuit. We live through experience, right? We learn through experience. And then we can use that to understand ourselves better and to recalibrate the direction that we have in life. A couple of key pieces to doing this. One is compassion, right? Which we actually talked about last time because we talked about the gate of compassion, the 15, right? We need compassion for ourselves and for others, and so that we can really allow ourselves to feel and transmute the trauma of the past or the difficulties of the past so that we can have a deeper understanding. And then also forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of others. Because again, as we are digesting our past, we don't want to get caught in it and just cycle through it, right? We want to be able to really make sense of it and then integrate that. And forgiveness helps us do that in a really big way. The gate 33, right, is on the throat center. And so it's expressive. It wants to express. So one of the things you might experiment with is in writing for yourself, also in speaking, to be able to express those new stories, right? Don't just try to do it inside of your head, right? Which is not a very embodied way to do it. So to be able to express it and to share that with others. And this can be like if you have your own business or even if you are working for someone else, your ability to express your understanding of who you are, what your identity is, that includes, yes, it can include your human design, but it includes a well digested and integrated sense of what your past has been, what your history has been, so that you can really be strong, stable, embodied when you are sharing about who you are. Like if you're doing a job interview, or if you're working on a new project, or if you have your own business and you're the primary person in your business, then you need to be able to be doing those things. So this is a huge benefit for you in that process. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos on the G Center. If you do have topics you would like me to cover, please put them in the comments, because I actually did this series of videos because someone asked for them. So I would love to hear from you. I want to be able to create things that are meaningful for you and that you can use in your life, and that are, something you're curious about. So go ahead and leave that in the comments. Okay, many blessings, much love.